you. Okay. Hello, everybody. I am glad that I have started again live with a museum professional from Albania this time. And thank you very much to dear Dorina that accepting my invitation. To our audience, Dorina Xheraj-Subashi has a PhD in museum studies, and she is the lecturer at the University of Aleksander, Moisiu in Albania. With her, actually, we would like to understand better something about museums of Albania during this pandemic. So, Dorina, would you please let us know, first of all, what are the main issues that museums in Albania were facing during this crisis and quarantine?
Yes, thank you, Niloofar. Well, as we all know, the pandemic found us very unprepared, let's say, because everything came in a speedy way, so nobody knew at the beginning what was all this pandemic, and also museums. Let's say in this crisis, in this pandemic crisis, at least in Albania, they found themselves closed on 9 March or 10 March. They found themselves closed. They had to close the doors and to find other ways to engage with the public. With that public that they lost, let's say, as all museums lost the public, but and of course that they had to address new things for them to be more close to them. So all this time that I have been, let's say, analyzing what is going in Albania, for all of them that don't know, Albania is a very small country in the Western Balkans, and it's close to Greece, and we are just in front of Italy. So finding itself as a small country, they had to see what other countries were facing this pandemic, and of course that as a beginning, as I have seen till now, as I have been analyzing the cultural responses, the immediate cultural responses came also as a way of seeing what other museums, let's say bigger museums in other countries, were responding to the public. And because for all of them that don't know, Albanian museums are not used to engage digitally, let's say. They engage in a certain way with the audience, but they have a face-to-face audience, not digitally audience. So the first issue for them was what to do, how to respond, how to engage public. So in the first step, they were seeing mostly on Italian museums as an example to bring after in their museums. But I think, Niloofar, that for all museums in the entire continent, in Europe continent, but also what I have seen also from the Americas, was to bring close people to their exhibitions, to bring close people to their educational programs. And in my opinion, for Albanian museums, it wasn't easy at the beginning. But maybe after two weeks of this pandemic, that surprised all of us, they found different ways to be close to people, to be close to children. And mostly, Niloofar, I would say that most museums has passed digitally. They are engaged in educational or virtual tours, and yeah, guided tours from museum. But yeah, to engage to people, to find the ways, and to think to whom they want to be close. Where's the first issue? Then after they found different ways also.
Okay, of course, you know, in the during the first days after the pandemic, or better to say that first cases have reported in any country, I assume many museums were in shock that how to start, and you know, especially those who were used to you know, manage it offline, and it was a time that they had to go through the online you know, activities. So it was the same thing that happened in Iran, and as far as I know, even in India too. But you were saying that as Albania is the small country and just close to the Italy and Greeks, do you think that those responses from cultural institutions, whether museums also, was suitable for the Albanian people, or just they were copying, or better to say, getting ideas from those main museums and just you know, doing it I mean, virtually or online there?
Well, yeah, I understand that. I think that personally, as a, let's say, as a visitor, if I go online and to explore an exhibition online, it's not the same way as you visit in person. Of course, that having the idea how other museums outside our country were facing it, it was a good example that it wasn't just copy-paste. No, because museums have found, they have their exhibitions, they had already, let's say, their planned activities that would have been held on site instead of online. Some museums had already some previous experiences, let's say, but small, in my opinion. There are some small experience on that. That, of course, that with the pandemic, I think now that all museum staff and curators, they have increased their digital capacities to engage, even though those maybe their hidden capacities, skills are working on digitally. But of course that having, let's say, some examples from other countries helps, of course, to improve or to find the better tools or better ways to respond to your public and to respond to your audience. We not copy and transfer what is being done from other museums or other institutions to an institution that doesn't fit. So they have found they have engaged in their manner, let's say, using their own exhibitions, and we have a lot of museums that have applied or they have put their object from on-site to online, even those objects that people haven't seen before. and they have experience also with their storage objects to find a way to engage a little bit, to explore those objects that are hidden to older public. They have found good ways. They have experienced, or they have put online some educational programs for children to engage with school children, because as we know, the most vulnerable age to this pandemic are the children and the elderly people. So even though we haven't experienced yet with elderly people to engage them, because it's a little bit difficult, because maybe some of them may engage to online, and some others have difficulties. So we are speaking for a country that not all people around may have digital access, of course, and internet connection. But mostly the museums have experienced or went to a close connection to children. They have put puzzles for instead, or drawings of some archaeological objects and artifacts, or some other stories, let's say. And so children had the possibility to join, to have fun, and also to know more about their culture, heritage that is displayed in museums.
Well, so, I can say I am happy to hear that, especially, you know, the children during this time, except the homeschooling, which is, I think, would be exhausting for them. They would get bored, and I think there is no choice except an arts or, you know, museums. And I'm super happy to hear that the Albanian Museum did that for their children. So
yeah, if I may, now that I'm reflecting, that is, I don't know if other museums has done in other countries, but for instance, some museums have put online some, for instance, some storytelling that have been of my age, and so recording me some past storytelling that I used to see in television when I was a child, and now they have put this one to see to their Facebook pages. But it's not just telling the story, or to put that the story, but it's also to connect this this new generation that is mostly connected with internet and other things, and they have lose they don't know how was the past, no? And in this way, children can see another view, let's say, of how storytelling was narrated or was has been put it in television years before. So some kind of you know, to join, to see, to be for children there, to have fun, let's say, not just boring, you know, because when some time passes, everything gets boring, and so people